Happy Thursday, everyone. Thank you so much if you're here live. We're going to get started in just a minute or two, but I'll just give everyone a chance to trickle in. If you are here already, go ahead and give me a wave. If you're comfortable leaving your camera on, that would be awesome. It's always fun to talk to faces, not blank screens. Hi, Carol. And if you're not comfortable, but you're okay with your voice, you can unmute yourself anytime to ask me questions or give us your insight and input. I love being interactive for our workshops because we all have great ideas. We all have good questions. There's no silly question. So try not to be shy. And if you're I just want to let everyone know I am recording it because I've got a few replay requests. So it is going to be recorded. And if you don't want your voice or your face recorded, just hit the chat box. There's a chat box and you can type your question. Yeah, we're going to get started soon. I see that Debbie is here. Hi, Debbie. And we'll get started in just a moment or two. How's your day going, Carol? 1 minute?
Yeah, I'm just going to run and grab my notebook.
Okay.
I'll be right back, but you carry on.
Oh, good student. Love it. Yeah, actually, if you have a journal, bring your journal. That's a good idea. I should say that for preparing for this workshop next time. All right. There you are. If you're just jumping on, hello, welcome. We're going to be diving into our mindset and talking a little bit about the importance of mindset. It's a very big topic lately. And yeah, I'm just really excited. I think there was a lot of interest for this workshop. It seems to be something that people are interested in. Maybe tell me, Carol, because you're in my program and we talk a lot about mindfulness and mindset in the program. Why are you interested, or do you have any questions specifically? We're just here to be a fly on the wall.
Well, it's always good to be a fly on the wall. No, I'm thinking in my head that mindset has similarities to attitude.
Oh, yes.
And having the attitude, the right attitude towards your physical health and exercise and all those wonderful things. And after our meditation the other day, I don't know. I had the best day after that.
Did you? Oh, okay. I thought you were going to go in another direction. Oh,
No,
that's amazing.
it was great. So it just makes me want to keep that mindset.
I love
That's
it.
something I want to do. So you're going to guide us today.
Well, I'm going to try.
Do a deep dive.
Deep dive. Okay, let's get started. So if you are, I'll just mute you for a sec, Carol, so there's no feedback, but feel free to unmute yourself. Debbie, hello. I'm gonna mute you too, but feel free to unmute if you want to chat, okay? Welcome. So hi guys, I'm Tatiana. I think most of you know me, but if you're new to the group, hi Debbie, it's nice to see your face. I hope you've been enjoying my live workshops. If it's your first one, welcome. I know I have some new members. I've been really enjoying them myself. I feel like 2024, you guys are getting to know me, showing up, there's more engagement. And because you're showing up live, it shows that you're dedicating time and energy to healing and transforming your health in a positive direction. So good for you. That's awesome. And this is what keeps me going because I'm really passionate about preventative health and healing health. I am a physiotherapist and a yoga instructor, but I guess in the past, people would come see me when they're already in aches and pains. And I still have clients like that, but I also get this whole other slew of clients who are just wanting to prevent and be the best versions of themselves they can be. And that that preemptive sort of preventative health, that's really like my passion. So I'm so happy you're on this journey with me and prioritizing yourself and for being an active member in the community, redefining aches and aging for women, because it's the power of the pack, right? We have community, we have each other, we're here to support each other, and it's just all good, healthy stuff. So this is just a little taste of the coaching that goes on inside my program called the Move with Ease method. And actually, Carol is here. She is in the program and she's here. So it shows she just loves this stuff, which is awesome. And the program really is focused on helping women relieve their aches and pains and start moving with ease, living their lives freely with confidence. And even if you're not suffering necessarily from chronic aches and pains, it's just that it's that guidance on how to truly connect to your mind, body, and listen. And today we are going to get into mindset, which has a lot to do, like Carol said at the beginning, attitude and thoughts. Well, thoughts lead to our attitude, and then attitude leads to our words, right? Like what actually comes out. Thoughts become our words become our actions, actions become our reality, and then our reality influences our mindset. So, can you kind of see how this kind of becomes a cycle? And it could be a vicious cycle, or it could be a positive cycle that's uplifting. We could really go one of two ways. And a previous client of mine who went through the program, she had this like really cool aha moment where she was like, wow, like our minds are so powerful. They can either be our biggest healer or our biggest destroyer. What do you guys think about that statement? Caroline, if you're ever watching this replay, I'm quoting you. What do you
No, yeah, I totally agree. Our minds just can bring us down on any given day, or we can change those thoughts and make ourselves feel better. I mean, sometimes we get into situations. Okay, I'm going to give an example of caring for elderly parents when they were ill, and that was a really tough 3 years because there were four of them,
Okay.
kind of one after the other,
Yeah.
and every day could have been horrendous, but
Mhm.
you have to have a try to have a positive attitude. I'm not saying every day you had a positive attitude, but
No.
I really discovered during that period that it was a lot about mind, because it was going to be a lot of horrible stuff and I could make the best of it or not. And I had to think, you have to come out of this healthy yourself. So uh,
Mhm.
your brain can play nasty tricks on you, or it can be a help to you, can boost you. So
Yeah.
I agree totally with
Yeah.
your thoughts.
Thank you for sharing that, Carol. Welcome, Sharon. I see you've joined. And feel free to turn on your camera if you're comfortable. It is being recorded because some people need the replay. And if you're not comfortable, you can just talk, uh, unmute yourself and talk, or you can type in the chat. Debbie, I don't want to put you on the spot, so if you don't want to, but does that statement, that biggest destroyer, biggest healer, does that ring anything for you? And if you don't want to, you can just give me a
No,
little. Oh, okay.
I just
I
had
don't
to
want to put
find
anyone on the spot.
yeah. I mean, that saying that you said when you came on, that's funny because I wrote that in my journal this morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But no, the mind has, I mean, it can break you definitely if you wanted to.
Yeah. Is there
Uh,
something specific that you might have on your mind right now, or you're just sort of, oh, I'm gonna like take this in?
well, I'm just kind of taking it all in right now because it kind of resonated because I have some aches and pains happening and
Yeah.
I'm used to that to this extent. Um, and my word for this year was strength and joy.
Love. I love that.
And I have been doing the actions and, but then when this title came up, it kind of resonated.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, welcome. Good for you for being here. And yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you
for
for
the invite.
sharing. Thank you for sharing. Sharon, feel free to jump in whenever you're ready. I'm gonna mute you, but you can unmute yourself whenever you want to jump in with a question or chat.
Okay.
Do you want to say anything now or you're good?
Not at the moment, no. Thanks.
Okay. So, again, if you're watching live or catching the replay and you've got questions, be sure to ask me, because when you guys ask me questions, it could spark the next topic. And you can post it in a group, you can message me on social media, email, like just reach me however you need to. I'm here for you. And remember, there's no silly question, and your question is of value to someone else. So I hope you guys find these workshops as valuable as my clients do inside my program. So let's talk a little bit mindset and actions. How do you guys think? First of all, let's talk about awareness. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place. I'm trying to think of how best to explain this. I think, and I see this with a lot of my clients and even myself, sometimes we're not even aware of our own mindset. And that mindset drives the thoughts. The thought drives the behavior or the attitude. And then the attitude drives our actions, and then the action becomes our reality. Does that make sense? Can you think of an instance where maybe your aches and pains or something that was like physically in your body? I'm going to talk physical first because it's easier to like, it's like tangible, like, where something was like you just weren't even aware that you were always defaulting to that mindset. I'll give you an example. I'll give you like, I'll use my own body. Ever since I had kids, I would always say, and guys, like I'm a physio and I know all this stuff, but still it's different when you're experiencing it in your own body. I was like, oh, well, like because of pregnancy, like my right hip is always off and I'm always gonna have a vulnerable right lower back and it's gonna tweak once in a while.
Well, I guess I can say where I'm different from that is when there is something, I always say, what was that? What's causing that? What can I do to change that? That shouldn't be like that. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Is that mindset? It's just like,
Well,
I
that's
know that,
actually
and I know
where
that, I know that's not how it's been. So if there is something that's hurting or bothering me, I try to find out what's doing it, what's causing it.
So Carol, you got curious, which is where I'm going next. You should lead these workshops. No, but seriously, like we tell ourselves these stories and these patterns that are from our past, and they don't serve us anymore, right? Like they just, like my youngest is 5. And yes, my body went through a lot with 3 pregnancies, but like it doesn't have to be that way. And I'm not saying I think like that now. This is after my first, but for a while, and part of it is because when I saw my practitioners, they told me that story too, right? Like they're like, well, you're tiny, you had a baby, like it probably threw your pelvis off, and you're always going to have a vulnerable right side. And I was like, oh, okay, well, okay. And then, but then if you don't get curious about it, then you're kind of stuck with this, I'm always going to have a right-sided back stuff. You kind of act like that, right? Like you're always going to, Debbie, I feel like you want to say something. Oh no, maybe not.
Well, I'm going to compare the diagnosis I had of osteoporosis 7 years ago.
Okay, let's hear it.
And having people tell me, not specifically the doctor, because all he wanted to do was push drugs on me.
Mhm.
And I kind of put the brakes on that. But other physical classes I was having say, well, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be doing this way. This is probably not a good activity for you. And I don't think it was because people were as knowledgeable as they should have been. It was just like, whoa, maybe we don't want to deal with this person, because if something happens, then it
Yeah,
might be our
liability.
fault.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I sought out, because I've been a very active person, and for me to stop doing everything. And I understand there are some things I shouldn't be doing if they're
Yep.
going to be, a bad fall, if I'm downhill skiing or things like that. But that made
Yeah.
me just want to find some other sources of activity for myself. And that's how I ended up at Core Maximus, because they had a chronic disease rehab program there. And it was specifically for people who had heart attacks, but the kinesiologist there was so great, and she made it her mission. And so I've just thrown myself into other activities. But if I had listened to what I was being told, I'd be doing practically nothing. And
Yeah.
that just didn't feel right for me.
No. And if you did do nothing, you would be in so much more trouble right now, right?
Yeah.
Like you would be debilitated, deconditioned, probably less, more osteoporotic, because you're not loading your bones, you're not challenging your muscles and your joints. So good. That's
Yeah.
really awesome that you got curious about, like, well, come on, like, what can I do? And I want to do more.
And
So
I'd be unhappy.
yeah, right? And so where I'm going with this is that I think we first need to be aware that we even have thought patterns that we may be stuck in that we don't even realize. And this happens with a lot of the clients that I see. And like I just shared, to some extent, I had experienced it in my own body. And when we have patterns of thinking, it creates like neural pathways that become our default neural pathways. So our brain is very plastic. I don't know if you've heard this term before. It just means it's very moldable. We can always change it. You don't have to be old and set in your ways, really. Like our brain is continuously changing, but you have to put in the work to change it. So if you've always thought a certain way, let's say, for example, I can count on like my hands, clients who are like, I never bend my back that way because, so-and-so told me I have back pain, I shouldn't do that move. That's years of telling themselves that. And that's years of not physically moving that way. So it becomes a block, it becomes fearful, and it becomes a default. Like it becomes an immediate fight, flight, or freeze response versus a curious, how does my body actually feel response? And what is my mind telling me versus what my body's actually feeling? And that can be really tricky. And that takes practice and patience with yourself and time, which I know is not sexy, but truly, that is how we create positive change and heal and get stronger and more flexible and grow. It's not easy, it's not quick, but it's totally doable. Does anybody have any questions about that? Debbie, you're look like you might have a question. I can unmute you. Oh, no, I cannot. I'll have to click that little.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
Stupid phone.
that's okay.
Right now, yeah, I'm doing the same thing, asking questions to myself. Because I've never been a person either to most times listen to negative feedback from doctors or anything else, and have gone holistic on most things in my life. But right now I'm just kind of trying to really ask where the pains are coming from, if it's stuck emotions, like you say,
Mm.
that's happening. Because I haven't done anything other than age,
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Um, we were blessed with age so far. So we're dealing with those little things.
Yep.
But like my leg and hip right now wakes me up
Mm-hmm.
because of if I lay on it or lay the wrong way, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm just trying to figure it out, and I'm not trying to compensate when I do my yoga and stuff like that, but
Mm-hmm.
because I've done that, been in pain, compensated, and
Yep.
ignored it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's great that you're not accepting of, well, is it just physical? Is it emotional? And it sounds like you need to navigate it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And just being open and curious and tuning into your body and listening and not fighting through it, but also not being afraid to challenge it a little bit, right?
Yes, yes.
And this is where again, that we need to be able to be open enough to tap into that intuition. And that's not easy because a lot of us, when we suffer from aches and pains for a prolonged period of time, you start to feel like you don't trust your body or yourself, right? Like, but then
It,
that becomes a pattern too, because if you're not trusting your body and yourself and you go from a mindset of fear, then that's another block. And then
yeah,
that fear drives more like more lack of movement, right? Like
it
you're not
it
moving.
escalates. Yeah,
Yeah, it escalates exactly. And then your nervous system, because you're not moving the body, there is something to be said about mindful movement, which versus just practicing mindfulness, because it's like we need to move the toxins somewhere, whether it's energetic toxins or physical, like biochemistry in our body, synovial fluid, the joint fluid. I think Carol, we talked about that last class. Like we need to move the body, but in a mindful, purposeful way, not just like a willy-nilly, I did a big dash around the block. No, it's like, how do we tap into that intuition so that we can truly listen to our bodies and figure out, is it my mind telling me that old story? Or is my pain like in my hip because I slept on it and I shouldn't do that? And I think that you're on the right track to like be open and curious to yourself about that for you right now, right, Debbie?
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And then, being again, trusting that process, right? Like trusting that you can get there. And sometimes that's really hard, which is why I created the program I have, because I am very passionate about this and I've been guiding movement for a very long time. And so sometimes it's having that, it's almost like a permission, like it's okay. Like even myself, when I don't know if you guys know, but I hurt my hip last year training for a marathon, my right hip. although Although I didn't tell myself the pregnancy story anymore, I didn't actually, which is, I just realized that now. I didn't chalk it up to that, which is kind of cool because I've been practicing mindfulness for a long time now. And the point of practicing mindfulness, how it helps with mindset, is that mindfulness practice brings you to the present moment. So you're not focused on stories of the past or victimizing yourself from past. And you're also not worrying about the future, right? You're like just experiencing what's happening now. And that helps with mindset, because if you're always stuck in the past or worrying about the future, you can't really be in here now in your present body. And so when I really hurt my hip, and I'm talking like I went from running 30K to couldn't even walk down the street without people being like, what happened to you? It was pretty scary and it sucked because my me time is running and that's when I feel free and awesome in my body. So to lose that suddenly, yeah, it was devastating. But I let myself, be sad and wallow in it. But then I had to shift because I knew if I didn't get unstuck out of that, it would just spiral. And I could already feel it. Like I couldn't sweat the way I wanted, move my body the way I wanted. And it was affecting my mental health and my emotional health. So shifting from that to, okay, in this moment, what can my body do? Okay, like I can bike pain-free. I don't even know that my right hip is hurt on a bike. So I just enjoyed that moment. Okay. Or I had to modify my yoga practice a lot. I couldn't do some of the hip openers and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, but I can do a straight squat without bothering like the injury. So I'm going to enjoy this moment and really hone in on channeling my energy into like I'm strengthening everything else that I can, my core, my quads, my knees, my ankles. Like, does that make sense, you guys? Like, even though one part of you might be suffering or might be talking, it doesn't mean the other parts need to shut down. I have another really great example. So I have a client who had a total knee replacement right before Christmas. And anyway, long story short, she's seeing a different physio because the hospital referred her that way. It's fine. She's back to seeing me now, but they just focused on the knee. Like how many degrees can you bend? And like, are you weight bearing on it? But like the rest of her is so stiff. And I'm like, what happened? Like, how come you didn't sit in a chair and do this kind of stuff? And she's like, I don't know. I feel so silly. And I'm like, it's not your fault. You didn't know. Like, they gave you a sheet of paper that said bend and straighten your knee. So it's like all that to say, like, we got to get curious with our bodies and our minds because there's so much outside of that, like one thing, right? Like that one piece of like that one space that isn't painful or that one surgery area. Like, okay, you broke your arm, but you didn't break the rest of you. Like you can still move, you can still gain flexibility and strength. Yeah, this is broken and we let that heal as it needs to, but there's the rest. So this is where it's truly important to apply your mindset into those small wins where you can and not letting the one part that might feel negative bring the rest of you down. Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. I mean, because we are made up of so many different components, and so having one small part of us take the rest of it down with it is not a very smart way to treat our bodies or our minds.
Yeah. It's
We have to
so,
love our body.
yes, absolutely. And like, love it even if something isn't working for you at that moment, right?
Well,
Like,
when your kid scrapes his knee, you don't stop loving him.
yeah, we don't. That's a great segue to how we talk to ourselves is a very important part of mindset. And like Debbie just gave an example, when your child scrapes their knee, you're probably gonna bend down and be like, give them a big hug and are you okay? Right? What happens to us, and maybe like the people here don't do this, but I see this a lot. What happens when your body or you do something, doesn't even have to be physical, like maybe you like make a mistake at work or I don't know, do something that you aren't so thrilled about that you did or performed, how would you talk to yourself? And if you don't want to answer, it's okay, but I'm going to
Probably not as good as you would your friend.
yeah. And I see this very often, right? Like the example I just gave, she was like we brought it around quickly, but she was so like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. Like, why didn't I move my back for the last 6 weeks? And that might be like, oh well, like one off in passing. But if that's your pattern of how you talk to yourself every day, right? Like if you look in the mirror and every day it's not like, hello, good morning. Yes, I'm ready to start my day. Like I love myself. If it's, oh my God, like look at that wrinkle. Oh, I don't know, this looks fat or just giving silly examples, but this is real because I hear it all the time. Like how you talk to yourself, every part of your body is actually listening. And that might seem like a little bit woo-woo or weird, but it's just the truth. It actually matters because that thought pattern drives your attitude. Carol said this, right? And your attitude towards yourself drives how your cells are going to react.
There's a lot of science to self-talk.
Yes.
To positive self-talk.
This is not just funny, energetic, and I don't even say funny because it's not, but it's actually proven now in the science, like Carol said, right? We have, I don't want to get too technical, but we have genes, right? We're made up of DNA. And when you do certain things or breathe a certain way or don't move your body or feel overwhelm and stress, I'm saying all the negative stuff right now, it promotes a certain type of gene expression, meaning it's going to trigger a flow for certain proteins and things to like get expressed in your body. And that trickle effect is going to drive more stress, more overwhelm, more negative self-talk, and more aches and pains, actually. How we get from there to aches and pains is because physically when we're stressed, we start to do the turtling, the fetal position, which is actually tensing our bodies because we're getting ready to like hide. And then that tension drives shallow breath. Shallow breath drives more cortisol. If you don't know, go back to the breath and posture workshop. We talked about this. And then that's just going to cause all this slew of biochemicals being produced and keep us in this chronic sort of, like it leads us to chronic pain and illness over time, right?
Yeah.
If we can recognize that though, we can reverse it, okay? It's not a lost cause, right? We don't need to take medicine and pills and all these things. We just need to take a moment to take a breath and think, oh my God, like, why did I think that way? And then don't beat yourself up about that thought. Just be like, okay, like, how can I reframe, right? If the marble has been rolling down the sand this way, that sand pit is deep. Like your brain neural pathway, it's deep. It doesn't mean you can't roll the marble this way. It's going to want to go that way. But if you recognize, you can kind of, okay, like, let's try this way, right? Like, why did I just say, like, call myself stupid and dumb in the mirror when I didn't do the thing? Like, how about like, oh, okay, like, let's backpedal. I want to do better next time. Or like, I made a mistake and it's okay. I'm going to try a different way next time. And then as you talk to yourself in a kinder way, imagine talking to a friend, right? Like Debbie just said, you wouldn't talk to a friend that way. It's almost like removing yourself as a third person. It's hard to do, but practice makes progress. Then you start rolling that marble the other way, and then you create like a deeper, and then next time, the more you practice, it's easier to go this way. You're still going to roll that way if you've done it for a long time, right? That default negative side, but you're creating a new path that if you keep practicing over time, just will become your new path. And that new path creates a trigger effect for the different gene expressions, right? There's more the science behind the positive self-talk starts happening. You start to feel a little taller. Your muscles are able to relax more, not as tense. You get better blood flow, but better circulation because you're not constricting yourself, right? Like when we're starting to fight, flight, or freeze, we constrict the blood vessels. We tighten things up. Muscles get tight. When we start to feel more relaxed and open and kind, we start to release all those tense areas, and blood can flow to those areas. We start to feel better breath. Our mindset is gonna, like, you'll feel more at ease in your own mind, right? Like, how many of us sometimes when we're so overwhelmed or something terrible, negative, and you can't spin out of it, you're spinning in the negative, it just feels so like insane and cloudy, and I like the word spinny, right? And you're not at ease.
Yeah, it's really hard to make any decisions. You can't think. Your brain is just
Yeah,
going off
decision
in all
fatigue.
directions.
Totally. But then if we can just tell ourselves, I don't know, I like to say, I have my breath and I'm going to be okay. Like if I'm ever feeling like that. And then I pick one thing. I'm going to accomplish one thing because I can do that one thing. And then I feel better. So but I wasn't like that right away. It's just not overnight, right? But I can do that now much faster than I used to. And it feels really good because you feel like we do have control over some things. And the biggest thing that controls us is our mind. So if we can get into our mind and like calm it, like we would calm a child that scraped his knee, if we can do that for us, our mind, it'll translate into like more ease in our mind and then more ease in our bodies. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think then it makes more ease in our relationships with our spouse, our children, our friend, like it just snowballs out, ripple effect outwards.
It does. That's laws of attraction, which is how I'm going to close out this workshop, is how you talk to yourself and how you channel that, right? Like all the things we just talked about, that is what's going to come out. That's what you're going to emanate. And when you are not happy, not you, but when one person is not happy, irritable, in pain, negative, it's really hard to be super happy and positive outwardly. And they might be, but it's very fake and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't align with you inside. And at that point, you will burn out and hate the world, right? But if you can start from within, it will naturally start to come out with your words and your behavior and your actions. And that is going to attract, like attracts like is where I'm going with it. And you will attract those people, and maybe they're already in your life, but it'll bring out that side of them too. Like that more uplifting, higher vibration, right? We don't want to vibrate low and negative and, just, it's okay to vent, right? Like once in a while, we love a girlfriend who we can vent with, but then it's like, okay, like let's move on. How do we feel better? Like, let's go for a walk and like sitting around venting, we need that once in a while, but then we got to move on from that because otherwise you're just stuck in that loop and that's a low vibration. But if you can, okay, I've had my time to like sit with that feeling for a bit, but like, how do I take action and like lift myself, lift others around me, like attract like, and the more you exude that positive energy, but you have to believe it, you have to love yourself, it will attract that kind of energy back to you. And then suddenly everything just feels more at ease. It's easier. Like Carol said, the relationships feel easier. Like your time with your spouse, your kids, your colleagues, even your friends, right? Like we have such limited time in our life. Let's spend it. You do have a choice. We can spend it in an uplifting positive environment in a positive way, but it first has to come from here and here. I feel like you want to say something, Carol. No?
Oh, no, I was just smiling. I was just thinking,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
love yourself, and
Yeah.
you
It-
have to love
Mind and the
yourself
heart are
first.
connected.
Mind and the heart are connected. Absolutely. Yeah. So with that, let's close today's workshop. We could talk about this forever, but I gotta run at 1. Let's close today with a loving meditation, mindful meditation to ourselves. Okay, and we're gonna send ourselves some gratitude for showing up today. Because you guys came, you took out time out of your day, you put energy into being live here, connecting with each other. Wonderful, wonderful energy today. I love it. We're going to put one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly, shut down your eyes, breathing in and out through the nose if you can. And with your whole being, with your whole heart, when you inhale, you're just going to send yourself some love, some gratitude for taking care of yourself, for prioritizing yourself, for showing up. And when you exhale, send that loving kindness back out to the universe. So when you inhale, you're really bringing it in, bring that right into your heart. And when you exhale, send that love right out to the universe, to those around you. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. If you notice that you're tensing your shoulders or your lower back or a hip flexor or something, can you just surrender to gravity and just tune into that loving meditation? So sending yourself love as you pull that breath in. And with your whole heart, sending it right back out to the universe as you exhale. Five more breaths right here together. Breathe it in. Breathe it out. Keep going with your breath. Inhale with your whole heart. Pull that love in. Send it back out. Gently, when you're ready, you can flutter your eyes open. There's no rush. If you're good to go, you could stay here for a few more minutes. And thank you so much, you guys. I'll stay on for another minute if anybody wants to ask me anything. Otherwise, connect with me in the group. Send me a message if you have questions. I'm here for you.
Thank you, Tatiana. That
Thank
was
you.
great.
You're welcome. Bye,
Take
guys.
care.
Take care. Hi, Sharon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.